I'm going to be on just for a little bit, and I'm here to talk to you guys about some of the traits of unstoppable women. I'm sure that you know I haven't been on live for almost a year now. Like, it's been an entire year. It feels like 2 years since I've been on TikTok. I'm so happy to be back. TikTok was like the app for me where do you ever find an interest or you're doing something that just makes you feel like you? Like for me, it was walking, or like you take a dance class and you're like, this is so me. That's what TikTok was for me. TikTok was my opportunity to just like do my thing and be myself, and it felt really amazing. And so whenever all the like TikTok's gonna shut down, blah blah blah, all of that happened, I actually genuinely was like, I'm gonna crash out. This is like my favorite thing to do. But yes, I'm happy to be back, and I'm back on my bullshit again, and I'm here to spill you guys all the tea on Untouchable Women. So you might have noticed I've been posting a lot about narcissism. I've learned some things in that department. Okay, so let's get started because I have to leave here in a little bit. So the first thing that makes a woman unstoppable is being okay with telling yourself the truth. This is something I've learned from being around toxic people. Toxic people are very good at lying to you about what they're doing to you, about how they're treating you, about anything. That's how a narcissist gets one over on you. Someone else who joined the Hot Girls Guide to Standing on Business, if you send me a screenshot of your TikTok that shows you had it on series, I will make sure you get the new series. It's the Hot Girls Guide to Standing on Business, but I've put it on a new platform and it gets new upgrades. So if you bought it once, like 2 years ago for $20, it's like $65 now. You will get everything that I update that program with. Of an untouchable woman. Number one, you have to be comfortable with being the type of person who's always going to tell the truth to yourself. That is foundational. I have learned that every time I lie to myself, I make myself susceptible to the lies of others. When someone lies to you and you know your truth and you're telling yourself the truth, it's harder for their lies to penetrate. But when someone lies to you, when someone manipulates you, and when people are trying to get one over on you, and you are also lying to yourself, it makes it easier for you to be manipulated. And I say that having to do with narcissism because narcissists will always do two things: gaslight and triangulate. So they will cause harm, and then they will essentially invalidate your feeling of being harmed. And they also triangulate. So they use other people. They use a third party to injure you, to wound you, to minimize your perspectives and your viewpoints. And when you lie to yourself, those attacks are particularly effective. When you're around a narcissist and they do something that's fucked up and you feel weird about it, and then you tell yourself, well, I'm overreacting. Well, I didn't really feel that way. I must just be jealous of them. Well, it must just be this or this or this or that. That's how they become more effective. Versus when you're telling yourself the truth of like, I literally feel a discomforting feeling in my body whenever I'm around this person. And sometimes that's very hard to do, especially as an empathetic person, as a neurodivergent person. If you were raised in religion, it can be very hard to admit, because a lot of narcissists are in positions of authority. It can be very hard to admit that you're around someone that you feel is unsavory, especially as a woman. When you're socialized as a woman, you're not getting that trait of being critical and being like, I don't like how I feel around this person, and just saying it. A lot of women, before they're able to say, I don't like how I feel, they have to call 5 friends. You have to say, well, he said this and this and this and this, and it just made me feel weird. What do you think? And unless their friend agrees with them, then they don't validate their own experience. I heard a hypnotist say this once, and they said, reality is created by validation. And so it is true that talking to a couple friends who see things the same way can help you validate your reality and make sure you're not overreacting. But in this world and in this particular climate we're living in, and with the particular situations that are surrounding us, I think it is so important to rely more and more heavily on our internal compass other than what's going on outside, because there's so much going on outside. So much of what we're seeing is being manipulated. So much of what we're experiencing is being manipulated. But you know what no one can manipulate? Your internal wisdom. What no one can manipulate is your intuition. What no one can manipulate is that feeling in your body you get when you're around someone that is not good or safe for you. So my practice for myself that I encourage you to do is also to practice paying attention to how you feel about things and just validating it. Even if you're not in a place where you're like, you know what, I'm completely right about this person, I can read this person like a book, that's okay. Just be in a place of being like, you know what, I felt uncomfortable and I don't have words to explain why I felt uncomfortable, but I'm going to honor that feeling. And I'm going to look and see if some data, some information around me helps match this together so I can actually make sense of it. But don't be the girl who can't tell herself the truth. Don't be the person who's denying your own reality, because abusive people will deny your reality already. Don't be another voice in your own life that's denying your own reality. Number one, tell yourself the truth about your situation. Tell yourself the truth about what you're experiencing. Tell yourself the truth about how you feel about things. It is a lifesaver, and especially when you're dealing with a narcissist, it is a game changer. Number two, when you're unhappy, make a move, make a choice. Be honest about what you're experiencing that's making you feel like, I'm not really happy with this. I'm not really comfortable with this. I feel like for a lot of women, what really happens is you're unhappy with something and then you're telling yourself that you shouldn't be unhappy about it. And that is a very dangerous place to be. That is a place where you end up actually not able to defend yourself, not able to take corrective action, not able to make powerful choices. Because if you don't tell yourself the truth about how you feel, and then if you don't acknowledge that you're uncomfortable with something, you're not going to make the necessary changes. So one of the practices that I've been adopting lately is to be honest with myself about uncomfortable things and to make an action step of some kind or another. Whether that's this mascara is clumpy or I hate being around this person, I'm going to take action about it, because the way that you do anything is how you do everything. When you are in the habit of ignoring the small things that you really don't like, you will develop the habit of ignoring bigger things that you don't like. I'll give you an example. This is so weird and so niche, but I think you guys are going to understand this. I used to be the kind of person who would have to go to the bathroom and not go pee. Like, I would be like, oh, I have this to do, I have that to do. And I would just be like, I don't know, like allowing myself to be uncomfortable for long periods of time so I could get more done or do whatever. And something I wrote in my book was talking about how I felt on my cycle. Like, I was in so much pain. I had horrible PMS. I didn't feel good. And I would still force myself to work. I would still force myself to function at 150,000 capacity. And it's really funny because I just observed someone the other day who's just like this. She had to pee and she was bouncing around and like doing all these other things. And I'm like, you seem like the kind of person that holds it when you have to go to the bathroom all the time. And she was like, yeah, I do. But then I started noticing other things she does where she just bears discomfort. Like, this is someone I love dearly and like really understand, but she's just the kind of person who, if something's uncomfortable for her, instead of admitting that it's uncomfortable and changing it, she just sits there and deals with it. She almost like builds a life around things that are uncomfortable for her. One of my intentional choices that is a small thing, but it started impacting how I treated everything, was just going to the bathroom when I needed to go to the restroom, attending to my needs when I had a need, going to the restroom, drinking a glass of water when I'm dehydrated, eating food when I need food. Simple things, but you'll see that the pattern of self-neglect starts with those smaller things, but it's also reflected in bigger things, like not liking your job, like not liking your hair, like not liking your house, like not liking the body you live in, not liking the man you're sleeping next to. It's the same muscle of taking an action to change things that bother you. So another thing I've started doing is just making a list, just like this on a piece of, on an index card. I will write everything that's going through my mind, all the pesky things, like I need to get this one window insulated. I need to get this particular part of the house painted. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. This is on my mind. This is on my mind. I write it all down on a card. And then I take an hour, I take a day, I set aside some certain time where I can go through and take care of those things and cross them off. Start having the habit of addressing the things that bother you. And when you're dealing with a relationship, especially when you're dealing with a relationship with a man, if something bothers you, it needs to be a conversation. It needs to be voiced. For a lot of women, that's just the place to start, is just voicing it. Because there's so much you're just dealing with in silence. There's so much you're just keeping in, and you're not even saying, this bothers me. And what's sad about that with women is that a lot of times women will be so resentful over something they've been quiet about for years and years and years and years and years. And by the time they finally say something, the other person is like, why didn't you say anything? That would have been the easiest fix in the world. Don't let that be you. Don't be a victim of that, because there's nothing worse than sitting there thinking you're suffering to make someone else uncomfortable, and they would have been totally fine with making you comfortable anyways. You see what I'm saying? So this is one of those habits of an untouchable woman that I've begun to cultivate in my life, which is addressing the things that bother me. And that goes from small things to big things. If something makes me uncomfortable, it has to change. If something just doesn't feel right, it has to change. If something has stopped bringing me joy, I have to look at it. I have to investigate it. I have to decide how I can rearrange things to create a better situation for myself. But I'm not going to sit there bearing discomfort. I'm not going to sit there having to go pee and not being the person who goes and pees. I'm not going to sit there, and I used to do this all the time too. ADHD is like a bitch. But I used to all the time drink one iced coffee, no water, no eating, and be like, why do I have a headache? Why do I have anxiety? Why is my stomach hurting? Ignoring the small stuff will lead you to ignoring the bigger things as well. It is so important that you are addressing things that bother you. Because as you start doing that in small things, you will start having that habit in bigger things too. I promise you. There are so many things that just sit there and pick at you all the time. And you'll also see how much power you have that you're ignoring. You will see how much power you have that you're ignoring. There's often a very simple fix for the things that are draining your energy and keeping you from being creative. One of the things that I'm doing right now, Artist Way. And as I work on the Artist Way, one of the things that they have you do is like list out these things that are like drains on your energy. And I started noticing so much more creativity, so much more openness, so much more desire to express myself and have a creative outlet as I began to address these things that I was ignoring. But while you're ignoring them, they're nagging on your energy. So number one is tell yourself the truth. These are the habits of unstoppable women. Tell yourself the truth about your experience. Tell yourself the truth about how you feel. Number two, when you're unhappy, make a move, make a change, take action, do something about it. And that goes from small things to big things. Tell yourself the truth about how you feel, your experience. Number two, when you're unhappy, make changes. And it goes from like small things to big things. I repeat this over and over again because it's so true. Like sometimes the small thing is like, every time I eat meat, I'm uncomfortable. If you're still eating meat, stop eating it. Like if you're uncomfortable, stop doing it. And there's so many things I've stopped doing in the last year and the last 2 years that have just made me feel better. And I notice it. And I'm like, why am I not adhering to things that are making me feel better? I think just growing up, how we are all socialized, like going to school, you're taught to just be comfortable with discomfort when you really can just make changes. Like when you don't like shit, you can actually just use your free will and change things. Like that's very much a possibility. Number three, truth that untouchable women know. Delaying is denying yourself what you want. Procrastinating is denying yourself what you want. Putting things on the back burner is just denying yourself pleasure. And you can't look out at the world and blame people for not giving you what you want and for not accommodating you when you don't accommodate yourself. You can't look at life and be like, why am I not being supported when you're not supporting yourself? If you will start to support yourself and accommodate yourself, you'll start noticing that other people start accommodating you and supporting you. So that is a huge one. Delaying is denial. When you put off working out, you're denying yourself a healthy body, a clear mind. When you put off learning about things that are really important, you put off having that discovery, you put off having insights, you put off the time that it's going to take for you to become a master in that subject. So become a person who does not delay. Become a woman who does not delay. I'm seeing this a lot with women in marriages where you're putting off these important conversations. The next thing you're going to do is look up and realize that 3 years has gone by, 10 years has gone by, 15 years has gone by. Address it today. When it comes to your taxes, when it comes to your bills, when it comes to your health care, when it comes to anything, address it today. Address it today. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed. And the little things that you let slide become normalized to you. That's another reason why all of these tips are important. Telling yourself the truth. When you're unhappy, make a move. And being a person who handles things today and not being a person who delays it for later. You're setting the standard. You're setting the tone for your life. I talk about that in the Hot Girl's Guide to Standing on Business. It's in the link in my bio. You guys can go and check that out. But I talk about standards. I talk about boundaries. I talk about how to create them. And I talk about how to create bulletproof standards and boundaries. I'm sure you guys have heard the analogy of a frog. Like if you put a frog in boiling water, it'll jump right out. But If you put a frog in lukewarm water and start to gradually turn it up, that frog will boil in that water because it won't jump out. That's what I mean by being meticulous about your standards. That's what I mean about being meticulous about your boundaries, about telling yourself the truth, about addressing things, having it's on sight mentality. And I mean that down to like the other day, I was like, I think it was like a blanket that I didn't like how it felt in my house. And I was like, I have to get rid of this. But as I got rid of that, I also got rid of certain pieces of clutter that happened to be holding a lot of emotional space for me. I started addressing other things around it that I didn't even realize I was ignoring. So you might think it's a small thing. It might just be hiring a cleaner. It might just be regularly doing small things for yourself. I'm telling you, it seems small, but it's actually big. And a lot of times those are the things that are blocking your creativity. Those are the things that are blocking you from taking your next level in life. Those are the things that are distracting you. Because as I told a friend yesterday, you don't have to be completely taken off of track to be off track. All you have to be is a little bit left of center. All you have to be is just dysregulated and uncomfortable enough to not focus when you need to focus. And one of the best things you can do for your own integrity is to be about your own principles and your own values and your own standards and your own boundaries. Because number 4, things that untouchable women do is to just be a woman that has boundaries. Stop letting people play with you. And I truly mean that. Stop letting people play with you. Stop letting people talk to you any kind of way. Stop letting people speak to you any kind of way. Stop letting people around you that don't belong around you. Have a sense of decorum about who is allowed in your life. Have a filter for who's allowed in your life and who's not. Have a filter for what kind of relationships you engage with and what kind of relationships you don't. Because there's so much out there, so much nonsense, so much chaos. This girl talking about energy harvesting and how a lot of our energy is being hijacked for things that we don't even agree with, we don't even stand for. But people will trigger you. They'll make you angry. They'll get you frustrated. They'll get you fearful so that they can then suck all of your energy out of you. And she was saying that a lot of people are not really connected to a source of their own energy. They feed off of creating low vibrational energies in other people. And I'm seeing this more and more and more now. Number 1 thing those kind of people will do to you is try to hijack your energy. Again, with the narcissist, this is what a narcissist does. They injure you and then they feed off that injury. They will attack you and feed off of your response. This is why for me, I choose to be non-reactive every single time. I'm sure you guys have seen like Shira 7 talking about not giving people reaction. Oh, I was saying how when you deal with men, it's super important to just be non-reactive. Don't let him just get a trigger out of you, because men look for your energy. Like they want, for instance, a man will look at someone in a suggestive way just to see if it's going to make you insecure, if it's going to make you crash out, how you're going to respond to it. So whenever you're engaging with a man that you don't know well, which I highly don't recommend, whenever you're engaging with men, with people, with anything, be mindful about what kind of energy you're letting leak out. It's not everything that has to piss you off. It's not everything that has to get your attention. It's not everything that has to get your focus. Because there's people, and again with the narcissist, this is what narcissists do. They injure you, they fuck with you, they create problems for you, and then your reaction is their fuel. But if you give them nothing and pay them dust, they won't have anything to feed off of. Do you see what I'm saying? They won't have anything to keep going with. You see? So be mindful of your energy. Have boundaries in how you're dealing with people. Have boundaries, have standards on what you'll actually engage with and what you won't engage with. Nothing makes a narcissist feel more powerful than having injured somebody, which is crazy. I remember probably, I don't know how long ago now, but I remember being on live one time and we were talking about narcissism, and I was like, oh my God, everybody is complaining about narcissists now. Like, I feel like it's even a trend. I was wrong. I was wrong. And I am so okay with saying that. Like, we can't talk about narcissists enough. We can't talk about sociopaths enough, because we're not educated as a society on the fact that there are people roaming around us that genuinely don't have empathy, which is it's just hard to wrap my head around, because I'm so full of empathy. And I think a lot of women, well, I'm not going to say a lot of women are, but a lot of the women that I attract in my life are so full of empathy to the point where they're like, oh my God, it's like cursed to have this much energy. Like, I feel so much for people. I have so much compassion for others, you know? I can't imagine not having that. I can't imagine not feeling compassionate towards people. I can't imagine delighting in the harm or hurt for someone. But there's people who have that level of no empathy. They just don't have the material. And they delight in harming people. They delight in hurting people. They delight in hurting someone and then getting the reaction out of that person and seeing that the person is hurt and seeing that the person is bothered. And they don't stop until they get that reaction. When they get nothing from you, they don't know what to do. So they just keep fucking with you. They keep trying different things. They start getting frustrated. Talking specifically about narcissists. I know a young person who was raised by a narcissistic woman. And one of the things that she said, how it damaged her and how it harmed her, is just being numb in general. Because she, at a very young age, realized that every time I'm reacting, when I'm crying, when I'm upset, when I'm frustrated, when I'm fighting, this person is actually getting excited. It's like they're getting something out of it. So they learned at a very young age to not give that narcissist reaction. And now it's kind of put them in a place, put their nervous system in a place where they're not even able to, like, they just feel numb, which is very sad. Like, that's an extremely unfair way to live your life. So those are my keys for you guys. The habits of an untouchable woman: telling yourself the truth. When you're unhappy, make a change, make a move, do something about it. Don't be the type of woman who is comfortable with discomfort, because the more you increase your tolerance for discomfort, the more discomfort you're going to get in your life. This is something that I've learned from healing from trauma, is that from like PTSD. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced like PTSD, complex trauma. I almost feel like being Black or being a woman or being gay or anything that, I feel like a lot of those experiences come with complex trauma, right? But something I've learned from healing from complex trauma is that it has given me a larger capacity for chaos. So I can tolerate things that most people would just be like, no, and walk away from. That doesn't mean I need to tolerate those things. Just because I can make do doesn't mean that I should. Does that make sense? Just because I can handle an extremely fucked up person and that I can go back and forth with them, or I can figure out that they're fucked up and know how to protect myself, doesn't mean I need to leave myself in the vicinity of that person. You know, like, having that kind of tolerance in your life, I think, attracts negative experiences. Whereas having the boundary of like, oh, I've been here before, I know what this means, I know what this looks like, and I'm going the opposite way, is a lot healthier. Because instead of viewing and setting toxicity as normal, you start to set healthier, higher quality experiences as your new norm. And I think that's so important, especially in relationships. As a woman who has ADHD, I see a lot of other women who have ADHD getting into relationships with narcissistic men. And one of the reasons that happens is because an ADHD brain craves dopamine. It craves change. It craves, it craves difference. It craves, I don't want to say chaos, but chaos can be very exciting to a woman with ADHD. And so when a man love bombs you and then just goes ghost, or there is emotional abuse, there can be a sense of a dopamine hit that's intermittent and that's a little bit more addicting to an ADHD brain type, in my opinion. That's my opinion. I'm just telling you guys things that I observe and things that I think about. So if you know you got ADHD and you know you have complex trauma, I highly encourage you to be even more strong about your boundaries. Be even more mindful about what you're allowing to become normal for you that isn't actually normal. And just because you can tolerate something doesn't mean you should. Because run a strict program. Be the type of person who's not going to take anything from anybody. I was having a conversation with someone and they were joking around just a few days ago. Such a nice person, very sweet person. But one of their jokes got into that territory of, no, we're not going to do this. and I checked them on it. And I remember seeing the look in their face. Where it was almost like they knew that I knew that they had tried it, you know? And I remember thinking to myself, there was a time in my life where I would have just sat there and been like, they don't mean it. They didn't know they were saying that. Don't ruin the mood. Don't be that person who makes things uncomfortable. And now I'm just like, no, I am that person who will make it uncomfortable for you. Don't start none. There won't be any. Like, keep things very respectful around here, because if I allow you to disrespect me, and I've said this before, and I should say it again, if I feel this way, if I allow you to disrespect me, I'm allowing you to disrespect the people I represent. If I allow you to disrespect me, I'm allowing you to disrespect the people I protect. If I allow you to disrespect me, I'm allowing you to disrespect the principles that I stand for. And I feel like a lot of women need to know that it's not just about you. It's about your principles. It's about the values you stand for. It's about the people people that are part of your community. So when you stand up for yourself, you're standing up for a large group of people, and you're setting a tone for how women like you should be treated. If every woman everywhere ran a strict program, the men would be different. And that's not to blame us for the lack of development that men have, because that is their problem. But in a sense of seeing how impactful it is to run a type program, yes, if we all were strict as hell, I say this all the time, if women cheated in revenge of men that cheated, there would be a lot less cheaters out here, because there are men who cheat and then they never get cheated on. They still stay with the same woman. They end up leaving that woman later and getting with another woman who's also been cheated on, and it makes her even more clingy. And they're thinking to themselves, what exactly is the incentive for me to not do this? I just saw an interview with Charlemagne from The Breakfast Club saying that, like, he used to cheat on his wife and he started feeling bad and now he doesn't do it anymore. I don't believe that. I believe he finally ran into a consequence. If we all did men how dirty men do women, if we were as filthy as men are, men would be different. They would have to be different, you know, because they wouldn't have a lowest common denominator. If every woman on the planet cheated back, if every woman on the planet was just like, I miss my granny too, these men would be different. They would be, and it's past saving now. But anyways, my point is, running a tight ship is so beneficial, not just to yourself. It's beneficial to other people too. You're doing other people a favor. You know, for every man that I dumped because they were a fuck ass, they started learning, wait a minute, I can't date black women and treat them like this. She didn't play that. So the next woman they encounter that I remind them of, they have to come even more correct than they came whenever they were dealing with me. And it's a good thing. Like, this is how we have to be at women. This is how we have to be as women. Yeah, so your boundaries are helpful for people, and your boundaries are sexy, by the way. Your boundaries are sexy to men if you are looking to attract men. I'm so tired of talking about men. I can't even lie to you guys. Like, what I'm seeing from men these days is very weird. I'm seeing very weird energy. And if you're out there looking for your soulmate, I still 100% believe that you can and will find your soulmate if you want that. But if you're in a place of like not even being interested in men, I'm standing with you there too. Like, I really, really am, because I think that what's happening climate wise is putting men in a position where they're just so much more comfortable with very dismissive ideas about women. And I find that to be very unsafe. I think it would be unsafe for me to advise you on how to attract, deal with, or talk to men without also acknowledging that like things have become more extreme. Even now, like, I think I haven't been on TikTok for like 9 months, right? Like something, a little under a year. Even now, things to me are more extreme than they used to be. And that's like a 9-month difference. So if you're in a space of being wary, I support that. If you're in a space of, I'm going to find my soulmate regardless, I support that, because both realities are like available. But yeah, these, you know, when people say the men of today are weird as fuck. I remember I sat at like a brunch maybe a few months ago, and this guy like started telling me about this extremely weird YouTuber who hates women, and just thought that it would be normal and like natural conversation for him to try to expose me to this guy's ideas. And I was like, no, like, this isn't gonna be a thing, just so you know. They're weird. They are weird. Boundaries really do help with confidence. Yes, they do. Just like I said about sitting in this conversation and this gentleman is very much it's a very generous term for him. But this man trying to sit there and tell me, trying to introduce, what is it called? Like incel content or red pill content? I don't care. I don't know. Ew, just gross. But him trying to like soft launch extremely misogynistic content to me was such a no. And the fact that I had no space for it increased my confidence. It gave me a sense of being like, you know what? I know that I can take care of myself in the world. And it reinforced that. I've talked about confidence before on live streams, and I'm going to talk about it again because I'm glad that it came up. When you stand up for yourself, when you protect yourself, when you take care of yourself, when you have boundaries that keep you safe, you will find that you walk through the world differently because you know you have your back. That is one of the goals of my account, is for you to know you have your back. There's lots of creators out here who want to be your guru, and I'm fine with that. They have that space. I don't want that space in your life. The space I want in your life is to be that psycho ass bitch with a white fucking wig on that was crazy enough to tell you to believe in yourself, to take care of yourself, to stand up for yourself, and you never treated yourself the same way ever again. That's my role. Like, I want to be the crazy person that shook you into being your own protector. Like, that is what I want out of this life. That's what I want out of my page. That's what I want. And that's why I changed my bio to helping hot girls reclaim themselves, because that's what I want for you. That is what I want for you. You ever listen or read someone and you think of them versus listening or reading someone and thinking of yourself? I want you to think of yourself. I want you to read my content, to listen to my content, to absorb my shit, and to treat yourself differently, and to be the person you can count on. I want you to adopt habits that make you know that you have yourself no matter what happens. That is the goal of everything that I post on my social media, because that's what we need in the world. That's the kind of women that are going to be able to change the world in the way that we need it. And wow, do I feel exhausted with the whole concept of what women want to give the world, especially with how things are now. I'm like, where's the respect? Where's the love for women? Where's the two-way energy of just honoring what women do for society? So as much as I'm saying that for women who are on a mission, I'm also very much in a place of like self-preservation over everything. And us taking care of ourselves as women, us taking care of the people in our close communities, and not being worried about helping everybody else, being worried about ourselves, being worried about taking care of ourselves, being worried about the people that are core and that are close to us over anything else. I said it earlier, guys, make sure you check out the link in my bio. My Hot Girls Guide to Standing on Business is live and it's available. If you already bought it on TikTok Series, it's still available on TikTok Series. It's not available for new people to purchase on TikTok Series. You can only get it in the link in my bio. And if you got it on TikTok Series and you want to access it on the new platform, just send me an email at faith@fendifaith.com, and I'll send me an email with a screenshot of your purchase of the series, like proof that you purchased it. And I will make sure that you get onto the new platform as well so that you can watch it there. 100% believe in outsourcing labor to preserve your energy. I really do. I believe in that. And I believe in outsourcing labor to men. That is like a religion that I will always subscribe to. That's why I believe in men paying bills. That's why I get it that women can pay their own bills. I get it that you can be a career woman, but I'm also like, let's let men do something for fucking once. Like, let's put tasks on men. One of my pet peeves is to see a woman married or in a relationship who has more to do than a single woman. That is crazy to me. Because how did you add somebody to your equation and you gained more work? That doesn't make sense. That doesn't happen to men when men get in relationships. When men get in relationships, their lives get easier. As a woman, you should get in a relationship and your life should get easier. You should have less to do. You should have more support. You should have more room. You should start growing more. You should start advancing more. You should start feeling more of a sense of, wow, look at all the space I have in my life. Look how supported I am. And if it's not that, fuck it. Like, why are you even there? Why are you even there? Why do you want to be around a man that's not doing something for you? To go soon. We're going to do our little recap. You know, I got to run it back. The 4 habits of unstoppable women. Number 1, telling yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth about how you feel. Tell yourself the truth about your experience. Be honest with yourself. If you are going to lie to the whole world, I stand behind you. But if you're going to lie to yourself, I'm like, no, let's not do that. Lie to everyone. I don't even believe lying is bad. I don't believe lying is a sin. Lie to everyone. Lie about everything. Lie about everything, but do not lie to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. It is a life-saving practice of untouchable women. That's number 1. Number 2, when you are unhappy, take action. If you are uncomfortable, take action. If you are dismayed, take action. Like, don't sit there and freeze with something that is making you uncomfortable. Examine it, look at it, have the courage to face it, and use the power that you have to make changes. And that goes for the small things to the largest of things. Make changes in the areas of your life that you're not happy with, okay? Like, I want you to really, like, take your action steps, okay? If you're unhappy with something, if you are uncomfortable, make sure you take action. Number 3, delay is denial. When you sit there and delay things that you know are important to you and that help you move forward in life, you are denying yourself the pleasure of having good things. You're denying yourself the benefits of life. Listen, no offense, no shade. We could die tomorrow, guys. Like, the whole planet could blow up and we'd all be gone. Like, why are we delaying things that are important to us? Why are we delaying experiences? When you realize that life is made up of experiences and life is made up of moments, there's no reason to sit there being uncomfortable for any reason. For any reason. There's no reason to sit there delaying good things in your life for any reason. If it's worth having, it's worth having now. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing now. Stop leaving shit undone. And I gave you guys my tip of like taking an index card, writing. We need to maximize our lives to the fullest. Absolutely. Writing down everything. Writing down all of the things that are going through your mind, the things that write shit down, okay? And then set aside some time in the week, some time within the month where you just go through and cross all of those things off so you know that you're actually taking care of things and you can have a sense of freedom mentally and you don't just have things on your mind. I don't know if this is an ADHD thing. I don't know if it's a woman thing. I don't know. I don't care. My point is, do it. Write all these things that are just taking up all your time and energy and attention and focus, and get them out of your way. Stop delaying, stop procrastinating on shit. And I also want to add this addendum that if you find yourself procrastinating constantly, it's probably because you're doing some shit you don't want to do and that you don't feel like you actually need to be doing. I have noticed this, and I'm adding this to my thoughts on these super long engagements that super long dating relationships and the shut up ring conversation popularized by Cecilia Regina, who has incredible theory and incredible insights on these dynamics between men and women. I have noticed that when men and women are dating each other and they're not getting engaged, they're not getting married, we're not progressing, a lot of times it's because they don't feel sure about those relationships and they don't feel confident enough to bet their futures on those relationships. So they're staying in a state of limbo. Instead of breaking up, instead of advancing, they're like, I guess we'll be here. One thing I could do in this life is be here or be here, but I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be in a space where I'm allowing myself to stay with something that is mediocre, that isn't working for me, that doesn't feel right to me. I'm either going to upgrade myself or I'm going to get that thing out of my life. And I encourage you to do the same thing. And the final thing is to have boundaries. Have a sense of boundaries about who you let in your life, what you say to people. Be mindful of oversharing. I said that so much last year, and I believe it even more now after my experiences. Be mindful of oversharing. Be mindful of telling people things that they don't really need to know. Because if you start to understand people, and I'm someone who's fascinated with people and loves people, but imagine if I was the type of person who wanted to just go out and hurt people for the shits and gigs of it. Do you know how much harm I could do to people? Because I understand people. So instead of sharing things, like for instance, you'll go to like drinks with someone And they'll let you know that, like, yeah, my mother used to do this, my father used to do, no, like, don't give people that kind of ammunition until you know who they are. Like, keep certain things to yourself. You don't know what people's intentions are. You don't know what people's motives are. You don't know what they want from you. You don't know who they are from anywhere. And here you are just sharing stuff. Pipe down. Pipe down. Like, bring it down a couple of notches, especially when it comes to dating and relationships. Pipe it down and just let's see how things go. And just let's see how the communication goes. Let's see how things are progressing. Like, pipe things down. Pipe things down. Don't share so much. Wait until you see that person in a couple different scenarios. Wait a couple of years. One thing I've noticed is that if you give people enough time, they will tell you what their motives are. They will tell you what they want from you. They will tell you why they like you, why they hate you, why they plotted on you, why they don't plot on you, whatever it is. They will let you know everything. So just be patient enough to let them tell on themselves. Let them let you know so then you can then extricate yourself from the situation. That's something powerful women do. That's something powerful people do. They don't just tell you everything. If you meet the CEO of some fucked up corporation that's ruining the world and that has more money than God, they will never just start telling you how their business runs and how it operates, because they understand that a certain level of exclusivity is what's keeping their money machine going. Why, as a person, when your heart is so much more valuable than a corporation, right? When your spirit and your soul and your psyche is so much more important than just money and factories, why are you sharing everything about yourself with people who don't give a fuck about you, with people whose motives can change like the wind? You know, because one moment someone can like you, the next moment that same person might want someone else's attention. They're sharing your tea, they're sharing your business because that gets them attention. I've seen people spill tea just because they got attention for it. They don't even have to have a good reason. Not everybody has the character that you have. Not everybody has the gifts that you have. Not everyone has the talents that you have. So sometimes some things can be kept to yourself. Yeah. Sometimes some things can be kept to yourself. So have boundaries. And you guys, make sure you check out the link in my bio for the Hot Girl's Guide to Standing on Business. If you already purchased that series, that program, email me. I'll get you onto the new platform and you will be receiving some new updates very soon. And I'm very excited about that for you. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for being with me on my first live in like a year. We're going to call it a year, even though it's like 8 months, 9 months, who knows. But yeah, thank you for being with me. This was so fun. I'm so happy I got to be back on my bullshit again. You can also DM me any topics that you want me to cover, or things that you have thoughts about. If I have any research on it or new insights, I will be happy to share them. Again, check the link in my bio for that Hot Girl's Guide, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.